Hello, my name is Cyclones Oz, and I hope you guys don't class this as spam uploading, but it's the third video for the day because severe tropical cyclone Kirrily has made landfall just the south of Mauritania, between Townsville and Ingham, as a powerful Category 3 strength severe tropical cyclone. It's delivering life-threatening conditions ashore now around Townsville and across towards Ayr, with some very dangerous wind gusts being reported. I also think that we might have just lost the Townsville radar because of all of the significant amount of rain has just flown off the radar at this point, but we will take a look at the Bureau of Meteorology's forecast regarding this system in just a little bit, but it's all about the right now for this quick update. And if you do end up enjoying this video, then please do consider leaving a like and also subscribe to the channel as well. We're nearing closer on 10,000 subscribers and I'd love to hit it very soon. With your help, it is possible. So take a look at the storm right now. Impressive display on the radar imagery. Also looks pretty neat on satellite imagery actually. It's moving well ashore now. The center of circulation is located probably about here as per all of the wind observations that I'm seeing, and you can see the eye of the storm on the satellite imagery is actually quite significantly displaced from the center. Now that means that it's in an environment right now of high vertical wind shear, which means all the thunderstorm activity is being blown well away from the center of circulation, away from where it can be blown up by the storm itself. So actually very hostile conditions for this tropical cyclone, and I'm surprised that it's gotten to Category 3 status as it's approached the Queensland coastline, but still a very significant storm nonetheless, and it's boasting some fairly powerful winds at this time as well. And it's thunderstorms like this, especially this one blowing up here, that's going to go right, it's going to rocket right over the top of Townsville in maybe about 20 minutes or so. This is where the most destructive wind gusts are in this tropical cyclone. This is where we're seeing the wind gusts of 170 kilometers an hour or higher. I mean, looking at Lucinda right now, winds 82 kilometers an hour on the northern side, and that's over land, that is. So if this was a slightly more exposed location, you'd be seeing winds sustained of 110, gusting to maybe 150 or 160 kilometers an hour. This is far stronger than what we actually expected earlier today, mind you, and this is why it's caught a lot of people off guard. And I'm so glad that people have actually prepared for a severe tropical cyclone in this sense, because if people went off the official forecast alone, which was for a weak Category 2 strength cyclone to make landfall, there'd be a lot of people drastically underprepared, and I mean, homes would be blown apart. Windows would 100% be shattered. In a Category 2, you can get away with leaving furniture out in the backyard, but in a Category 3, certainly not. This is winds that will turn any object in the backyard into a missile that could go through your home. So I'm very glad that people have actually heeded some advice and prepared for a Category 3 strength severe tropical cyclone, because it's definitely going to save property, and it's also going to save the hassle of dealing with an insurance company. I don't think anyone wants to deal with an insurance company, that's for sure. And if I zoom right in on Townsville, there's a second weather station at the airport. That's the one that I'm most interested in, because that's the one that's on a more sort of flat terrain, more exposed terrain, to give it a better idea of the actual wind speeds. 58 kilometers an hour right now in Townsville, the winds are, so certainly very gusty. I believe they probably will be gusting in excess of 120 kilometers an hour in the Townsville, I dare say city centre, but more sort of town centre. So if you do live in Townsville or in surrounding areas and being affected by this cyclone right now, please leave a weather report for your location in the comment section. I love reading all of them. I'm sorry I can't respond to all of them. I'm very busy tracking this cyclone as well, and also with work and stuff, but I do read all of your comments, so keep sending them in because they are heartwarming. 71 kilometer an hour winds for Alva Beach right now, probably gusting a little bit stronger than that. They're in the sort of outer edges of the system at this point. The radar is actually very deceiving, because I don't think we have the Townsville radar at this point. So if I pull this back to, I'd probably say about 7:15 or 7 o'clock, when the storm was just starting to make landfall, this gives us a picture within about an hour of what the radar actually looked like. So on the backside of the system, there's very little rainfall actually. There's quite a lot of rainfall in the forms of intense rain showers, but they're very concentrated. Currently a couple heading through Bowen, and also down towards, I guess, Airlie Beach is about as far south as they get. But the majority of the rainfall is on the northern and the west, on the western side, sorry, of the system, whereas the eastern side and the southern side remains a little bit drier. Now, the reason for that is the wind shear. But the convection, as I said earlier, has been pushed towards the west of the system, and you can see that on the satellite imagery once again. The eye of the system's well inland now, but as supported by radar imagery, the storm hasn't even made landfall officially yet. It's probably another 5 or 10 minutes away from the time of production. So yeah, that's what wind shear is. It blows the thunderstorm activity away from the storm's like physical center or surface level center, and it really messes up the vertical stacking of the storm. Now, I don't expect anyone to understand what that means unless you're a meteorologist or a weather nut that's been tracking storms for about 5 years. However, vertical stacking is very important for storms intensification, and it's very rare that you see tropical cyclones intensify that aren't stacked well. And in this case, it's very, very weird that this storm has intensified to the degree that it has. I mean, you're seeing sustained winds of approaching 70 or 80 knots in the center of this cyclone. So the fact that it's been able to get those winds in a very hostile environment, it's rather remarkable, and it's not something we see every day, that's for sure. A very weird cyclone, that's for sure. It completely bombed out in some of the best conditions the world has to offer for a tropical cyclone. And then as it gets close to the Queensland coastline and hits more harmful conditions to it, it just decides to blow up in intensity. Now, a lot of my viewers from Cairns as well are talking about the rainfall that's towards the south. Now, Cairns certainly in this tropical pattern where they're getting just this moisture from this tropical cyclone. There's a lot of rainfall falling in the hills around Atherton, Ravenshoe, down towards Mount Garnett as well, and also around Innisfail, Tully and Blendon Kerr. They're receiving quite a lot of rainfall at this point. I believe there's going to be places that are picking up maybe totals about 25 millimeters an hour for a very good amount of time as well. So there's going to be a lot more rainfall falling up here than we initially expected because of the cyclone's sheared appearance. However, again, I'm not expecting a flooding emergency to develop out of this. But there's still a chance that rivers get up to the minor flood alerts up here, and there's also that chance that we get to minor or moderate flooding around the site of the tropical cyclone. And even though I didn't expect a flooding emergency to develop out of it, it's very likely that there will be 1 or 2 rivers that get up to that major flood level alert, as with every tropical cyclone that comes ashore. It's very rare that you see a tropical cyclone come ashore that doesn't dump enough rainfall to push a river beyond major flooding. Unfortunately, this has also coincided with a king tide, so you're going to be seeing storm surges maybe about 0.5 meter to 1 meter above the highest astronomical tide of the year. There's a tide marker in Townsville, actually. I'm going to see if I can pull that up now. There's a tide marker in Townsville. Yeah, I believe you're looking at a high tide of at around, yeah, so it's in about 40, or it's about 44 minutes ago at 8 feet. So that's approaching the highest astronomical tide for that time. In fact, it might actually be a little bit lower than that highest astronomical tide, but we're certainly getting some very high tides around Townsville associated with this tropical cyclone. Tides of around 8 to 9 feet, and add another 3 feet on top of that with storm surge, then you're probably looking at a storm tide of around 5 feet above the highest astronomical tide. So it's a very serious situation in terms of possible coastal inundation resulting from this tropical cyclone. And also because its pressure, its central pressure is a lot lower than we initially thought, because it's strengthened substantially more. There's a lot more water that's kind of being pushed up, and that's resulting in a higher tide as well, which is just compounding everything. It's really looking like it's going to be a worst case scenario in terms of wind and storm surge for areas around Townsville, Ingham, Cardwell, and then down towards Ayr and Bowen as well. Thankfully, it looks like conditions are definitely starting to ease off around Hamilton Island and Airlie Beach. They were blasted this morning, and even down towards Mackay, they had some very heavy rainfall down there. Conditions certainly starting to ease off there, but it's only getting started in Townsville. They're about to get the back end of this tropical cyclone, and that's going to get really nasty indeed. So if you're in Townsville, stay safe, keep going through your beer supplies. You know what I'm talking about. I've seen comments about people saying that getting pissed during a tropical cyclone is bad advice. But yeah, powerful tropical cyclone. The eye really rounded out quite nicely just before landfall, making landfall probably right about now, actually. There's really no town site here. It's basically on the outer suburbs of Townsville. So yeah, stay safe everyone. Also, side note, just as I finish off recording this video and take a look at the radar imagery, let me know if you'd like to see me track other tropical cyclones that don't actually affect Australia directly. There's one in the southwest Indian Ocean right now that's been marching through the Australian region, and it's a pretty powerful one actually. Take a look at it right now. It looks decent, and if you want me to cover it as well, please do let me know in the comment section down below, because I'm more than happy to cover that along with Australian weather and Australian tropical cyclones as well. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next storm. Goodbye.